So Zach Braff of Scrubs and Garden State fame has directed a new lighthearted comedy about old guys robbing a bank. Okay, let's talk about it. So in Going with Style, Michael Caine, Alan Arkin, and Morgan Freeman play three old men whose pension gets canceled at just the wrong time in life. Therefore, they decide to go rob a bank because they feel owed the money. Now, the movie does dive a little bit into each of their backgrounds and why they would go to such extreme lengths, but really the movie just exists to have a lighthearted comedy about three fun, charming old guys robbing a bank, and that's what this movie is. But it is fun to see these characters together. So with that said, let's talk about the good. Really, the thing that this movie has going for it are the three lead actors. Michael Caine is a little bit more of the heart of the group. He's more serious and kind of tries to play a little bit more of the kind of has a harder story arc going on with his character, where he's at in life. Morgan Freeman has a little bit of that, but more he's kind of this quirky, fun guy going along. And Alan Arkin is the funny man of the group who's sarcastic and cracks lots of jokes. That's the dynamic of the group and kind of what's going on with them, and they have a lot of fun with that. Really, that's all this movie has going for it. And I don't say that too much to like trash the movie, because that's why this movie exists, to see these three guys have fun together. On that level, this movie does that well. But with that said, that's all this movie really has going for it. So let's talk about the bad. And the big problem here is that the movie's just so generic and so familiar. So whether it's the general plot of people are wronged by the system so they decide to become robbers, which we've seen before in stuff like Fun with Dick and Jane, or just the general idea of a bunch of old actors that we really like them, put them together in a lighthearted comedy for one last adventure like we saw with Space Cowboys 15 years ago, it all just kind of feels like something we've seen before. It all plays out very straightforward, how you're expecting it to play out. It's very safe and it's very bland. It's not going to offend anybody. No one's going to hate this movie. It's got a charm to it. There's just not much to it beyond the basic idea. And back to what I said at the beginning about how Zach Braff directed this. This is a guy that made a movie called Garden State about 13-ish years ago that really communicated to a generation of people in their 20s the feeling that they had at that time period of this confusion of not quite feeling like an adult yet, but not being a child anymore. And there was no place that we felt like we were at home, because I was just the right age for that movie. And it just really touched on something really profound and powerful, and it was directed quite artistically. And so people my age absolutely love this movie that he made 12, 13 years ago. And then watching a movie like this that's so generic, it's strange how generic and heartless this movie is beyond just the charm of these old guys. There's nothing about Zach Braff's previous work, whether on Scrubs or in Garden State, that you see at all in this movie. This is a very generic but safe movie. It's not going to offend anyone. One thing that bugged me about the movie, and I know it's just a lighthearted comedy, but we're supposed to feel sympathy for these characters as to what would put them in a situation where they would feel justified in robbing a bank, but it presents them as making really bad life choices where they don't have any savings, where they've signed bad mortgages, where they've lived in really expensive places, and they've put themselves in a situation where they're in trouble, and then we're supposed to be like, yeah, you can go rob people. And even after they're broke, even after the pensions have been canceled, it shows them going out to eat meals constantly and spending money that they clearly have been stating as the premise of the movie that they do not have. So you can't really have sympathy for them. It's a lighthearted comedy, but when that's the central idea of the movie, that I'm supposed to feel bad for them, and I can't because they've put themselves in this situation to some extent, kind of pulls you out of the movie a little bit. With all that said, it's a harmless movie. It's mildly charming, mildly funny, but it's not good enough, funny enough, original enough, really to recommend it to anyone. I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. If you see it, you won't hate it, but you won't like it all that much as well. And there's other movies that have had similar premises that are more enjoyable. There's no reasons to go see this in the theater, but if I'm being honest, if you rented it Redbox, you won't feel like you wasted your money, but that's all it's really worth. So that's my take on it, but how about you? What did you think about it? Tell me in the comment section below, and what's kind of like your favorite old guys going back in the saddle for one last adventure kind of movie. I really like Space Cowboys. It's a movie that came out in, I believe, the year 2000 with Clint Eastwood and Tommy Lee Jones, James Gardner. They're astronauts that go back for one last ride in space. Fun little movie, a lot funnier than this movie with a similar sort of idea. Let's get some old guys for one last adventure. Tell me in the comment section below which one is yours. If you're new to my channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I do movie reviews. I talk about movie news from time to time. And I got this cool new show called Masters of Movie Trivia. It's a movie trivia show with me and other YouTubers trying to see who is the master of movie trivia. It's a whole lot of fun. If you're a YouTuber, maybe someday you can actually join us on it. So with that said, thank you for watching.